Welcome to the Remarkable Retail Podcast, Season 8, presented by Celonis. I'm Michael LeBlanc.
And I'm Steve Dennis.
We have a special bonus episode for you today. Hot on the heels of the NRF Big Show, we reached out to two retail experts who graced the stage in New York, all the way from the UK and Brazil, to get a more global take on the big trends and the year in retail ahead. From London, Kate Ancketill, founder, CEO, and chief storyteller at GDR Creative Intelligence. And from Sao Paulo, Alberto Sarantino, founder, advisor, board member, speaker, and author, Veracé Retail.
Well, it was really fun to have them on, both because they have such great perspectives on a wide range of topics, some of which I think you and I sort of kind of understand, and others that they really helped educate us about. And also just that global perspective, because we obviously come at it more from a North American point of view, and they're able to give us the global perspective as well as a bit of insight from their particular necks of the woods. So really enjoyed the conversation.
Speaking of global, you may recall, listeners, Steve and I were in Barcelona at the World Retail Congress event last spring, which was fabulous. And this year, the World Retail Congress is in Paris, and it is April 16th to 18th. And we wanted on their behalf to extend an invitation, an offer to attend this bespoke retail event and keep the global conversation going.
Yeah, it's such a great conference. I've been twice and looking forward to this next one. And it's not only a great location, obviously Paris is a wonderful place to have an event, but the thing I was really impressed by, I think you were as well when we were there last year, was just the intimacy of the event. It's much smaller than some of the other events in a good way, as well as a very senior audience. So if folks are able to get to that, I think they would find it extremely worthwhile.
All right, and we'll put an offer code in the show notes as well as a detail and a link. You can go find out yourself and potentially even register. Time is, like I said, it is April 16th to 18th. So in the world of these things, time is getting pretty close. Let's get to our fabulous interview with Kate and Alberto. Well, Kate and Alberto, welcome to the Remarkable Retail Podcast. Kate, where are we finding you today?
I'm in Bath in Somerset in England.
Fantastic. Alberto, where are you? Where are we finding you today?
I'm in São Paulo, Brazil.
Well, and Steve is in Dallas, as our listeners know. I'm in Toronto, so we have a pan-global...
Less exotic.
A little less exotic, but a pan-global panel. So thank you both for joining us. So why don't we start with each of you telling us a little bit about your personal professional journey, who you are, what you do for a living. Alberto, let's start with you.
Okay, I've been in retail for over 35 years, and for over 25 as a strategy advisor. I sit in several boards and innovation and digital acceleration committees for several leading Brazilian organizations. I also build international tours around the globe to take Brazilian C-level executives to find inspiration for the future of their businesses. And I'm an author and speaker.
All right, fantastic. Kate, what do you do for a living?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Kate Ancketill. I'm the CEO and founder of GDR, which is a London-based business futurist consultancy. Small, independent, boutique, very clever team of people who help me support our big brand clients in understanding the midterm to 5-year future for physical and digital retail.
There are a couple of reasons we wanted to have you on. One is you both have a ton of experience, very broad perspective, but in particular, much more of a global perspective than I think we typically get, as our audience is primarily in North America. But I thought maybe we could start big picture with your thoughts generally about your outlook for retail, positive, optimistic, things maybe to focus on. And then if you've got any particular perspectives about your part of the world, that would be great as well. So Kate, would you be willing to start us off?
Yes, I don't want to kind of be too negative, but I would say we're sort of middling to flat here in the UK. We've had a lot of, problems. Brexit hasn't helped. We are heading into an election year. We've had obviously high interest rates. Cost of living crisis has hit very hard. And, there's all sorts of problems. So some retailers are picking up, and they're up maybe 1 or 2%, but some are down, and we're still losing some quite big names. So I would say the middle term trajectory is flat line, if not slightly downward facing, unfortunately.
How about you, Alberto? What's your perspective?
Well, I see that clearly we had a shift from the pandemic period in which the focus was primarily devoted to digital acceleration and growth. And the combination of inflation and high interest rates hurted retail on a global basis. And in Brazil in particular, is affected a lot, the economics and the cash availability of retailers, because we depend on credit for most of the transactions across different segments. So it was hard, and this forced companies to an austerity and to really focus on the fundamentals and to shift from growth to sustainable growth, which means protecting cash generation and looking into optimization across all core processes and mainly cash generation and results. So instead of just acquiring new customers and growing digital sales and growing transactions, companies were more concerned about balancing growth with sustainable results, cash generation to face the short-term issues. Perspectives at this moment are moderately optimistic. So most retailers believe that 24 may be better than 23, but still very cautious because of the uncertainties and the still high interest rates.
I don't know. From my own experience, it's just really, not that it's been easy to predict the future, but I feel like the past couple of years, the moment we find ourselves in now makes it even more difficult. So, Alberto, you were speaking a little bit about digital. Maybe we can get both your perspectives on what's going on in brick and mortar. I think by now it's pretty clear that physical retail is far from dead, but we're seeing quite a lot of evolution. Things like work from home, I think, have affected the patterns of where physical retail is being done in some cases. Any general perspectives, Alberto, you'd have about the state of physical retail and some of the key trends that you're advising your clients to look at?
Consumers are back to the stores, but in a different way. So we see a decrease in the traffic if you compare the current figures with the pre-pandemic figures. But higher conversion rates, which means consumers are going to the stores better informed, and the journeys don't necessarily begin at the stores. So the stores have been reinvented and redesigned as a hub with several different roles, and from my perspective, a much more strategic role. And the main role of a store, I believe, it's to acquire and engage customers and provide services and operators, logistics and fulfillment tool, and be the center of omnichannel experiences. But the problem is, and the main issue and challenge for retailers is that they still don't capture data and they don't transform this data into new KPIs that allow organizations to really attribute the value generated by the stores. I'm optimistic about the future of stores. I think that with this new approach, they will still be relevant and valuable for retail organizations. And many retailers see the future of the stores with optimism and confidence. So I believe that, and I've been seeing very, very innovative approaches to stores and new concepts being deployed, and consumers are responding to this.
Well, maybe before we can go to Kate, are there any, I'd be curious if there are any particular retailers or store concepts that you find particularly intriguing, whether they're in Sao Paulo or whether they're, in Seoul or New York or London?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at Inditex results and figures, they keep raising the bar in terms of store execution, in terms of the way they've been embedding digital tools to allow customers to better shop, not only in the stores, but across their journeys. I see their evolution with Zara Rome outstanding. Nike has been doing some amazing initiatives with the House of Innovation Stores. They recently opened a Paris concept and also one in Shanghai. IKEA has been deploying their urban stores, and apparently they've been responding pretty well. I've recently seen amazing executions with the new Petco, Crate and Barrel, Whole Foods opening in New York. In China, there are some amazing concepts being opened, even from local brands that are now aiming to become global players. And so La Samaritaine in Paris, it's a must-see destination for everybody interested in retail. So I think amazing things happening around the globe, even in Brazil. I could share many examples of stores recently opened that really raise the bar and try to address this new role of the store and really keeping it relevant for the customers.
How about you, Kay? What are you seeing in terms of the evolution of physical retail? And then, do you have any, I guess, hot list of concepts you find particularly intriguing?
I do, and I agree with everything that Alberto has said, absolutely. I think we're heading towards an era where we're in a sort of post-truth scenario where AI has become so ubiquitous that we can't, for a while, at least until new tools come to hand, we can't be sure that anything we're experiencing online is real. And therefore, I think we will be driven as human beings to more physical experiences than we ever have been before. I mean, I personally have always been optimistic about the future of physical retail. No man has ever asked me if there will be physical stores in the future. Sorry, no woman has ever asked me that. Only men have. So I think that you can definitely tell that something is authentic and true if it is real and you are physically in it. And so I think we'll be doubling down even more than we have been on, those kind of play spaces, those kind of, places for adults to let their hair down and be like kids, deeply experiential places with emotional amplitude. And I know that it's not replicable, but actually this is why I love this particular case study. There's one in the UK that's opened recently. It's an American homewares brand, Restoration Hardware, and it's opened a store that you would just not believe. I've never seen anything like it ever in my life. It's an 18th century country mansion with massive grounds, and the whole thing is now a Restoration Hardware store with cafes and bars and, completely luxurious and gorgeous and totally high end. It's in the middle of the Cotswolds, no passing traffic. I mean, the model is not replicable, but it speaks to this idea that if it's real, if it's unique, if it's extraordinary and a total day out, it is the new version of, the excitement of the department store from 150 years ago. So I think we will see more of that alongside, retail as general third space to kind of fill that gap of loneliness that we have as an epidemic in the West.
Couldn't agree more, Kate.
Yeah, just quickly on that, I've made the comment before that physical, and I hadn't thought about it so much in terms of the generative AI kind of issues you point out, but I think in a lot of respects, physical retail matters more in a digital world. You kind of bifurcate between the efficiency of digital, but then when you're trying to have more of an experience, whatever that looks like, whether that is the RH kind of experience or whether it's sales help or whether it's trying stuff on or just shopping with some friends, whatever it is. I think that's a very interesting perspective.
I think physical store is going to be the new point of trust, because trust is going to be much bigger as an issue between retailers and brands, because we are heading towards this post-trust world, I think, to an extent that very few of us have really properly grasped just yet.
Yeah, very interesting.
Kate, it's a very wise observation, and check out the book I'm holding if you're watching us on video. The book is Post-Truth. It is the book by Lee McIntyre that talks about exactly what you're describing. It's what do we and how do we trust our senses anymore? So I love your RH example. We're a big fan of RH. Let's shift gears a little bit, Kate, and let's talk about the circular economy a bit, something I think you focus on and try to understand. We see lots of retailers putting very senior, very experienced people into this file, so to speak. What are you thinking about the progress here? I mean, we just came out of a kind of an average kind of COP weirdness, these statements and all that stuff, COP 28, and the business model of sustainability seems a bit of a challenge, at least from a circular economy perspective. What do you think? What excites you about the circular economy, and what do you think's in store for the near future and longer?
I think that we're seeing some of the most advanced examples coming out of Northern Europe. Not surprisingly, it's just the region of the world that is, I think, ahead on this, both in terms of government legislature and legal requirements that are coming up in 2030, like the DPP, for example, in the EU, the Digital Product Passport. But I think some of the things that really excite me in terms of stores which are trialing new things, which may in truth not be the most profitable models, but I think they are models that simply fit the requirements of, planetary requirements and realistic and sustainable business models. And one of them is Houdini, which is a sports brand out of Sweden. And they have the new circular store, Houdini Circular, and anything in the store can be bought. Some of it's new, some of it's secondhand, some of it's repurposed, some of it's for rent, some of it's for subscription. And basically, you choose what model do you want to engage with that product. Also, you can bring things back and sell them back to the store. So I think that's a very interesting model. We see the Tomo is a department store in the Netherlands, the world's first circular department store. Everything in there is a recyclable, recycled, mission-driven product brand, often from independents. And you can walk in there with products that you want to sell back to the store at various sort of, vintage high-end levels. And so I think Northern Europe tends to be the place to look for these models. And I think third-party partnerships with the likes of ThreadUp or Croissant, the website in America, where it's a guaranteed buyback. So croissant.com is a sort of layer that goes on top of your purchases that might be through Nordstrom or any other brand, and it at the point of purchase it will guarantee that it will rebuy or buy back your item for anything from 45 to 75% of its value, obviously within a certain time period and assuming it's in a reasonable state. And obviously that is super attractive to an audience if you know that you're going to be able to buy this now but get 75% of the money back within a year when you tire of it. That's the circular economy, I think, working in a way that's really desirable for the consumer, but also, there's a third party that's purely set up just to do this, so it makes it easier for the actual retailer.
Excellent. So lots of great innovation happening in the space. Alberto, let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about I don't know how many billions, I lose track of how many billions opportunity, and that's retail media networks. It is frequently brought up. What's the state of this content media thing, and help our audience who's deep into this differentiate between the signal and the noise, the hype and the reality around retail media networks? Is it just the big players that can participate? How do you see it?
Not at all. I believe this is an emerging major trend that will impact retail on a global basis. And I like to put it on a broader perspective and call it content-driven commerce as opposed to just retail media. Retail media, I think it's a way to monetize it, but there's a major shift in the journeys and in the way consumers are impacted and attracted to consumption. And if you look what's happening in China and what happened with the booming of short videos and live commerce, which accounts now for 25% of the e-commerce market, which is 50% of the retail market in China. You see how people are moving from search to interest. And interest is driven by content, experience, and entertainment. So the boundaries between retail, media, content, and entertainment are really, really being redefined. And you see media companies becoming marketplaces where you can actually transact, like in TikTok Shop. And you see retailers monetizing their data, customer data, and their capability to personalize at scale. I see retail media redefining what we call trade marketing and collaboration and cooperation between and joint efforts between vendors and retailers. In the US last year, the figures are already relevant, 46 billion estimated. Of course, 75% of it's dominated by Amazon ads, and it's basically search. But I see a lot of new initiatives and retailers deploying retail media, retail ads, retail data, and analytics branches and capabilities that allow them not only to capture resources from their vendors to do advertising and promotions, but to really do targeting media, personalization at scale, and really leverage upon their data and knowledge of their customer base.
Well, maybe, I don't know if this is a good segue or not, but clearly one of the other hot topics in retail is, and we touched on a little bit earlier, is AI. And I think a lot of folks are talking about the possibilities for AI across a wide spectrum, but particularly in the area of more personalization. Kate, I'm curious, aside from the excellent points you made about this kind of post-truth world that we may be in, what are you seeing with the applications of AI technology, and where are the priorities that you think retailers should be putting into place, at least for the foreseeable future?
Well, I'm with Bill Gates and Mustafa Suleiman from Inflection AI, and they both think that we will all have, as individuals, our own personal AI within 5 years, but also that all brands and all retailers will, have, instead of a website, they will have their own brand AI. And I think if you start to look into how amazingly empathic these new AIs are, if you tried Pi, for example, the Inflection AI version, if you use just a free download onto your phone, it is unbelievable the way it's just so phenomenally real and empathic and conversational. You can hear its intake of breath in between its words. It's kind of laughing. It's a mentor. It's a friend. It's a companion. I mean, you can so see how this could be your consigliere for, all things to do with consumption, as well as, being a mate, something to keep you company, an advisor, an assistant, and doing all the things that, the co-pilot Microsoft idea is already kind of promoting. But so I think, we will have personal and business website-based, well, whether it's website or other, but I think each brand will have its own AI, which will be trained vertically to become an expert in the products and services. So you'll have your Tesco food, nutrition, cooking, health with regard to food version, and it won't be just an open chat GPT that you could do your kind of history homework on as well. I think it's about vertical training and having these kind of separated skill sets for the different AIs for the different brands. I think that's where we'll go.
Alberto, anything you'd add to that?
Oh, well, I totally agree with Kate. I will add that on a short-term perspective, I've been seeing amazing things happening already. And I've been participating in some implementations and testings. And it's impressive the way you can really capture major gains in productivity, accuracy, and tangible results in core processes like demand planning, assortment, tailoring the assortment to individual stores, supply chain management, so inventory management, allocation, replenishment, pricing, personalization, after sales, and customer service. And companies are really, really finding ways to jump and capture major gains in terms of efficiency and productivity. And I believe that advanced analytics, data analytics, and everything empowered and leveraged by AI are core capabilities that retail organizations must internalize and build and develop. And they should have these capabilities and develop them, because they will be core and they will be applied to most of the key processes run by a retail organization.
Yeah, I feel like we're a little bit of this race, right, to figure out, because some things can create real leadership opportunities in the short term, but then, like we've seen with many technologies, then they become expectations. So if you're not experimenting, if you're not staying on top of it, you could easily fall behind pretty quickly. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. We've just got a couple minutes left, so I thought maybe we could do a little bit of a lightning round, and we've touched on some of this, but I'm curious whether each of you might just give us, since we do have this primarily North American audience, whether there are any particular lessons or other things you've seen that you haven't mentioned so far from your corner of the world that either is a source of wisdom for our audience or maybe something that they should go check out if they have an opportunity to do some research. So, Kate, would you like to offer up what's hot and sexy and interesting and full of wisdom in the UK?
I think the governmental involvement in retail in Northern Europe is worth checking out. So the digital product passport, the fact that the Austrian government is giving a grant of up to €200 for their citizens to repair electronic items. The French government is giving grants of up to €25 for people to have shoes and clothes repaired at tailors and cobblers. These are part of their kind of post-COVID recovery programs, but they do indicate, I think, a direction of travel which is more advanced than we're seeing elsewhere in the world. The idea that it's now illegal to give people plastic single-use cutlery for takeaway food in Europe and also in the UK. So I think those are the areas that will be impacting everywhere in the world at various times in the next few years. It's worth kind of jumping on board, perhaps even before you have to, according to the laws in your own country.
Excellent. I love that. How about you, Alberto?
Oh, Steve, you were mentioning leadership challenges, and I believe that the role of a leader of a retail organization it's highly complex in these days, and this will only get worse. The capability of balancing long-term strategic agendas and that require a lot of visionary leadership, but also hard choices. So how to address environmental and sustainability issues, and also business models evolution and risks and threats, AI, but at the same time making sure that there's a focus on execution and delivering short-term results and generating the cash and making the choices of where the organizations are going to apply and allocate their resources. So capital allocation, time allocation, talent allocation, and building roadmaps to really balance and address short-term challenges under highly uncertainty and instability environments and landscape with highly challenging long-term agendas. I mean, it's really not easy to sit on a leadership position within retail organizations these days, and I think this will require a lot from the leaders.
Very well said. I mean, have visionary leadership, but put the numbers on the board for the next quarter. I think you nailed it there. Kate and Alberto, this has been a fantastic conversation. I couldn't have thought of a better way to start with two leaders like yourself. Now, where can folks get in touch? Kate, are you a LinkedIn person? And give us some URLs and some social media that folks can go learn more about you.
I'm on LinkedIn, and the website is gdruk.com, and we have a free newsletter, comes every week. People like that. Easy to sign up for on the website.
Fantastic, and we'll put links into the show notes for that. Alberto, are you? I think you're a LinkedIn person, and where do we go find more about you and get a hold of you?
Oh, you can easily find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and on my corporate website, which is vareseretail.com.br.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you both so very much for joining Steve and I on Remarkable Retail Podcast. It's been a real treat to get your perspectives, lots of brand names, lots of examples, and lots of forward thinking and trying to figure out table stakes versus differentiators. You nailed it. So thanks again for joining us on Remarkable Retail. I wish you both safe travels and a very interesting year ahead.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Big pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in. New episodes of Season 8, presented by Celonis, will show up each and every Tuesday. And be sure to tell your friends and colleagues in the retail industry all about us.
And I'm Steve Dennis, author of the best-selling book, Remarkable Retail, and my new forthcoming book, Leaders Leap, Transforming Your Company at the Speed of Disruption, which will be published in March and is available for pre-order at booksellers everywhere. You can learn more about me, my consulting, and keynote speaking at stephenpdennis.com.
And I'm Michael LeBlanc, consumer retail growth consultant, keynote speaker, and producer, and host of a series of retail trade podcasts, including this one. You can learn more about me on LinkedIn, and you can catch up with both of us next in person at Shop Talk in Las Vegas this March. Safe travels, everyone.